Hello and welcome to an evening technical analysis chart video for the date ending Monday, 17th of December 2018. All bets, trades of the like within each one's own risk and their own reward. So then let's get started, as Bitcoin on the session today having a gain near that of 10% and getting up to the 18 average of highs. And that's the first time it's done such. Within this downtrend, it makes it very difficult to trust these rallies within such. But at the same point, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up and all that. So we've been in a down mode, not only since the November breakdown, but long term, of course, since the highs of almost 1 year ago. So up move, down move. An up move is going to take place. And as I've stated before, I think it's both bullish and bearish at this general area of around 3,000 to find a move up to this previous resistance or support area to be a potential resistance mark at around the mark of a little over 6,000. And within the move for today, it happened a nice little size gain, and it held it for most of the day. And when you looked at how it was playing into form, we can see big level of resistance, how after it had its last shot there, it managed to just stay correcting through time and staying above the 18 average for several periods. And as it broke resistance, it's a fast move, fast world. And since then, still consolidating its gains that it's had. So I don't know if this is going to be the bottom that is occurring within the market. For a move like this is only going to flatten the 18 average, the stall, the downtrend into that of a neutrality. Having a clear break above such, 3,700 would be a good number for a clear break, would be an attempt. And reverting the trend from that of a down move to a up move, and that's the keyword, attempt to do so. And as we move on, let's take a look at a few other coins. And I'm going to start off with monetary unit, MUE, and I don't think I'm going to need these lines in here, but as we have this move, we come to the resistance, 18 average lows, and a decent gain today. When we look at this on a 4-hour term time frame, I bought at the lower end of this area, 420. Well, not the lower end. I bought it like 422, and then as we see that it's been making a move higher, nice little move, and we see the size of these candles or the look of them. Well, the bid-ask ratio, that's not a tight spread. In fact, it's a decent size one. Let's take a look at what it looked like just moments ago. And it had the differential of 472 and that of 484. So that's a differential of 12 points. That's almost 3%. And you can put orders in around 483, but then somebody may put a 482 in ahead of you, and you still have to wait and hope somebody buys. This can go several minutes without a trade being executed. But when looking at places to put orders, understand the numbers game. I put my number in at 499. This box represents, that's where my sell order is at place, in at the level 4 such. And well, someone wants to sell big at 500. So I'm going to do a little small bit below such. And if you're looking at how the order books looks for the bids, what do we got here? We have a decent size buy here, nothing too big, but around 514 we can see that somebody wants to buy at 451. So 452 might be an area where you could consider putting bids in when you see something like this. And again, if you put in something like 473, you could get into a little bit of a bidding war as well. So generally speaking, as far as these markets are concerned, if you're just out there, whenever you buy and sell, you're just going to take the offer given, basically paying the piper, as I like to call it as well, then it can be a little costly, nothing too big. But Generally the ones that win on the spread are the ones that put. I find it better to be the one making the orders and trying to wait for people to come to you, and instead of selling at 472 you can sell close to 484 and vice versa on a buy. And that's mainly for the order books where there's a large differential between the bid and the ask. If you go to a large traded fund like Ethereum or a Litecoin and it's traded large, it's a very tight spread, which is if you're looking for those are better markets probably for you. But anyway, as far as this is concerned, does this have the availability to go higher? I really don't know. I know that it's going to go up and it's going to go back down, so I realize that if it does manage to get out above, get and make it above the 18 average of highs, then that would be a strong setup. If I sit around 530, that it could probably even have a move into the 600s, as you see that, well, just because of the higher low from this level in here. Let's take a look at NLC2. A little frustrating, but not really, as the price has been making a nice move, coming down from about 150. It's doubled its price from this last low level. And why it was a little frustrating was because I mentioned yesterday that I put a buy order a little over 200, and we can see today, when you look at the candles and just explain one by one what each one means, and after breaking the resistance on the big green candle, there was the statement, okay, reversal of trend. We were in a downtrend, then it got neutral, and now the statement is to turn it positive to a bull market. And then the 2-period sideways correction, digesting the play, digesting the move. Markets had a little bit of selling originally, but keyword was just a little bit of it. And then breaking this level of resistance, it had another good green candle higher. And then what did this session do? That was a pretty serious session, because it came back down to the previous low of the day and then closes back up, and early momentum here is showing that this thing back to its previous high is looking pretty good. So you'd want to see this more in a shorter term time frame to understand what is going on within this move. One of the things of consideration, the size of these candles. For this was a pretty big one here up until this point when it was going neutral. For the most part, every single candle from this period here, when the volume also got larger as well, it's much bigger. And within its move, you have a spot where you establish resistance and you come back to the 18 highs, and well, you stay around that for quite some time. While it's correcting through the 18 highs, it managed to break through this level of resistance and then have this nice leg higher in here, come back to the 18 averages lows, matching up within this, but having a noticeable nice hair above a little over 200 where my buy order was. That's fine. And then the market breaks out above this 18 average of highs about a few periods ago. This is about 1, 2, 3, 4, most of a day ago. And how is it playing out right now? Well, this line that it has right now at 280, and that was where the resistance was in here, and it's been resisting this for the third time, or the third period since this move. It did so on the 7-hour timestamp, the 11-hour timestamp, and now on the current 1900-hour timestamp. Venturing on to the single-hour time frame, well, this thing almost looks raring to go, as you have the level of resistance that is most certainly in place. Let's just draw a line. Don't know why it didn't come in. Now it should work. There we go. And I've seen this pattern play so many times before, where you have what's a successful correction because, again, this level came back to where it came from. So as we're looking at it in here, okay, support has been done. You're now retracing from high to low, and you quickly get back to previous high, and you're doing all of this little bit of correcting in here, and now it's working on this green candle. So to me, this seems poised and ready to have a break above, and as I would expect, whenever you have a major level of resistance, if you get a pattern like this, if you break it to the upside, you're looking at a decent size gain. So just as it may not be a great idea to sell like on a little break above in here, sort of like this point, you'd be probably looking at the same thing again here, selling at around a little over 300 or even at the 299 mark, 300. It's not a good leg higher. It's really small. So I would think if it breaks this resistance, we'd be looking at least going into around 320 as where its next leg going, and 320 is my conservative level for where a break above this resistance would come into play. A lot of coins are pretty active right now, with the next one being Binance Coin, and what a wild move it had. Big move up, big move down, but since it corrected down on the daily term time frame, it has been doing well within the 18 average. This level of resistance here from December the 12th, pulling back in or around that area. But as I look at this on the 4-hour term, there's the resistance, nice little pullback. We can see that this support was where the resistance was, 18 average, barely starting to rise, but we're very close to this level here. So a break of this resistance could spell out another decent gain higher coming soon. Dash on the daily term time frame had moved to get to correctionary phase December 15th. 3 days of hanging on, getting back to its highs from that point, which means, well, that's going to make the 18 average start to go flat. So down move is starting to become a little bit neutral. If it can get above that point, it would be making an attempt to revert the trend, and it looks like there's a decent chance that just might be the case. Looking at the 4-hour term time frame, the move, the resistance in here had a great support run. So 4 periods resisting the 18 average of highs after its correctionary 3-candle move down. And now over the last half dozen or so periods, it's been supporting the 18 average of lows while resisting this on several periods. Well, almost every single one of them, really, over the last 4. So getting above this level of resistance, I'd be expecting a decent size gain. And whenever a situation like this does happen, and it doesn't do such, meaning it doesn't get above it or barely gets above it and it has a failed breakout, this is where it's supposed to make its move. So if it has its attempt and it fails via that of a matching high, and you start to see this thing coming back down to this previous low, it's definitely reason that you to be cautious because, well, it's obviously in a bearish downward market in here. And yeah, you could definitely need to get above this to be very confident within what's going on upon this move, as because it's supposed to go higher. That's how I look at it. You get a nice setup. If the setup doesn't work, a failed setup can oftentimes bring a fast move in the opposite direction, is one way of putting it. Gigabyte is next, DGB, and this period is just barely into it. It's only been a couple or so hours. 1 hour, yeah, but 1 hour and 45 minutes within the day, which means it's having a good run right now. Consecutive days up, getting to the 18 lows, then getting to the 18 highs, and currently barely extending it, but it doesn't take much of a move more to have a clear break of the 18 average, just another 10 or so basis points more further. As we take a look at this on a shorter term time frame, and the level of resistance in here got taken out just recently, 4 periods ago, after great support amongst the 18. But this single hour time frame, we're seeing how this correctionary move at the 1800 hour, 6 p.m. Eastern time, comes down from the close to 290 back down to this 270 or so area. Resistance within maybe a point becoming support, and now it's lifting off from this level. 15-minute time frame. Hey, when it wants to move fast, it wants to move fast. As it just got going. What time is it? Did it start going at 20:49 or no? 7 minutes ago. So we'll see the kind of direction this has. But getting above this level of resistance shown in here, well, that could mean another leg higher. Where do we see this leg? Well, last time he came up to the support from December the 6th. So I'd be looking at maybe somewhere a little over 300, 312, 308 area as where the next leg would be moving up towards if it's about to do it. But it definitely looks like there's a decent chance this is ready to have a pretty good further gains within its day. Next up is Doji, and I've been stating for a couple times in the last little while that this is grinding its way, looking nice, and let's see, resistance break today. Look at this move, really, really big. This is the general area of where resistance was, 4-hour term time frame. It stabilized, chopped up and down below it for a couple of days or so. And then on the single-hour time frame, what a fast move. And the size of these moves. The percentage move, 62 going to 84. That's about a 20 or so differential. It's about 30%. And doing so over the time of a movie, we'll see on the 15, because it was actually really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, basically over the length of a movie, almost a couple of hours. And then the very quick move to the 18, and since then the volatility has been remaining such. The size of this 18 average has obviously gotten much fatter, and it's been able to resist, support it. And then if you're playing the order game, at least within this Poloniex exchange, I haven't checked to see what the other ones may look at in reference to the 1815 timestamp. But you have a whole bunch of sell orders fill, and if you happen to be live at the computer at this time, that means you can start placing buy orders. You see this? Okay, I sold at, say, let's just get what the number here happened to be. The high was 84. So say you might have sold at 82, maybe at 75, and a bunch, 3 or 4 different sell orders, and you happen to be there, and the price is, say, at 79. Okay, let's put a buy order in for 74. Let's put a buy order in for 68. And it wouldn't take long for them to hit. You're like, oh, sweet. Then you put your sell orders in, and then might have got one in here, possibly get it back now. If not, I'm sure you're very close to getting your next buy order in, but very good volatility nonetheless. Just this recent move from here to here is going from 76 to 70. That's near 10% just in itself. There are a lot of stocks that can go days upon days to reach 10% volatility. EOS has been a wild mover today. As we can see on the daily term, it grinded its way up to the 18 average of highs. But on the session today for Monday, it broke above it, and it did so convincingly, as a lot of these markets do. We can see big green candle up, a couple going sideways, 2 very good green candles up. But since that point, it has digested these gains phenomenal, with the support established and resistance. Yeah, it's established in this general area, which means on an even more shorter term time frame, 15-minute, we can see the 18 average showing a nice little bit of an uptrend, meaning higher lows are in place with this market. This thing might be poised to break resistance, but if it is, like we've seen so many times, don't be surprised if there's a large, decent-sized move after such an event. Next up is ETH-LEND, ticker symbol LEND, and with the daily chart showing after supporting the 18 average of lows for over a week, It has now been making a small, low volatile move up to the 18 average of highs and has been resisting it with microscopic volatility for the last little while. So the key word, of course, is that microscopic play. But don't be surprised if it's able to break above this resistance if it has a decent sized move going forward as well. Quickly with Litecoin, you're making a traditional pattern of lower lows and higher highs. That's not a traditional pattern, but it got below this level of low. Generally speaking, you're expected to make a lower high after a lower low. And if you're going to get above the previous high, well, you're generally going to make a high around here and then correct successfully via that of price or time. Successfully means it makes a higher low or enough periods, but it's done none of that. And it has just continued to make a move to the upside. We know historically within Litecoin, these up moves can just be phenomenal. Is it ready for one? Well, weekly time frame, it's still well below this 18. It's still in the 18 average, so maybe going neutral at best. Maybe it might be able to break above it. But as we look at the action for where we stand right now, there has been this leg higher, correcting through choppiness through time, second leg higher, and it's been doing the same thing. Is it going to have a third amongst this run question mark? And I don't know the answer to such, but we can see that this support has successfully thus far been where resistance was. A little bit of concern is that the spot for this thing to make a new leg higher was in here, because you had this correctionary play, you're starting to lift higher, and it's okay to find a higher low, but I would have liked to see support over the last few hours towards this level. But even if it does manage to make a move down to this point, when it does end up breaking this trend, and that's a matter of when, then it's going to be very important for this market to make that significant higher low and not have that failed breakout. Thus, the 18 average, I think, is going to be very important as its level of support, and just holding just a significant level from where this low is when you have a move of this type of magnitude. Next up is Qtum, and they had this big move on December the 13th, successfully holding amongst the 18 average of highs for 3 days, with the Monday session breaking out again for another leg higher above it. Looking at the single, let's look at the 4 hour first. As we can see, it was a nice size move here that corrected for many periods going sideways, and so is the case again. Technically, not a very good break above, but it's going to be very, very important now for the 18 average again to succeed like it did before, thus make a higher low, maybe support where this general resistance area was around 550, 530s, 540, 550 area. And again, with the single hour time frame, just this very fast move. It's having its correctionary play now. And when we look at this even on the shorter term, you can see it's running out of steam, of course, because, okay, you have this move in here, but then it has this little bit of a rally, but it's unable to do something productive, like either extend it or support somewhere in here. And thus, is this play done? At least for the time being, it might be. I'm just trying to remove the drawing tools. There we go. But what does this mean if it is? Oh, it means we might be extending back to the 18 average here. It does need a correction at some point. So, therefore, if I see, which I'm starting to see a lot of it now in the shorter term, that we might have a decent size leg lower, because where's the key resistance or support that's established? Originally it was here, which was resisted. And then it established a lower level of support, roughly around here. And we can see right now, as we're looking at this chart, at least my time, it's looking to be breaking down. So it does look poised, I think, to possibly maybe make a run for the previous level of support. But for now, doing well. And That's why when I look at these markets and I see the buy low, sell high strategy, it can get very, very frustrating seeing your portfolio go down, and then you're just putting a lot of buy orders in or a large number of buys compared to sells. But then you have something like this happen, you can unload some sells, maybe you bought back in here and sold again, but if another leg comes higher, that just means everything's sold down here, or bought down here rather. You can now get your profit as the markets continue to move in the upward direction. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to show Steam because it's just still getting its butt kicked. So if you're looking for coins that haven't had its move, I mean, it's obviously cheap. I'm not promoting it by any means. I'm just saying that there's a lot of coins like this. And the Raven coin, it's been beaten down a little bit. And PivX, it's just continue to go down. When you see these types of moves in here, that with the wicks going up and down, only price pays. If your sell orders or buy orders hit, well, they'll hit. Then we got coins like the Loom Network. It's just hanging in there, the lower end. But I would rather buy coins when the chart looks something like this compared to, let me just get a different chart. And Ethereum works well as it's down a lot too. But when you have markets that are up high, and I didn't want to draw a line down the middle, I wanted to move this over here, and the markets are up so much, I have a hard time buying anything when I see something like this. And then any of these up moves from any of these points, whether it be here, up in here, when it's tough to buy. A little easier after this correction, but even then this wasn't much of one. When the market goes straight up like this, there's no way I can be a buyer in a market like this. I can only be that of a seller when a condition looks like this. And then I'm going to just push this button to zoom to current. And when the market looks like this, I can really, at least for long-term levels, I can only be a buyer at this. The only way I can be a seller, and I have been doing this a little bit. Of course, I trade short-term, is the short-term trading, which meant, yeah, if I short-term bought down here, then I short-term might sell up here. And let's finish this off with an Ripple, which is having an interesting session because on Monday it ended up breaking out past the 18 average of highs after it's been in this neutrality phase for the entire month of December and even the last few days of November. And within such, what has this move been? Well, I guess the weekly chart might be the way to go from this point on. And what's the pattern show? Well, you got the down move, hits the bottom, and then this is that statement of trying to revert the trend. Stage one, band flattening out. And there's really two ways it can happen. One, an instant big move, which is this way. Or two, where the markets just stay within it and then just do a grinding thing like that. But either way, get above for the next stage to establish resistance well above the 18. And that's well above. It could have been a bit lower and that still would have been established. Next stage, come back to the band, which has really been the case even now. It made this lower high rally, but I like how it's been successfully correcting within such that the pattern for this, and this is more of a long-term chart given it's a weekly time frame, but getting above this little area here, then I think it can make room for previous high. And previous high is over the 20,000 Satoshi area. So thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever, whenever it is for you. Bye-bye.